Wasn't Hamilton the one to take retirement after this season? Turns out he isn't. Mercedes team principal has made his retirement plans instead. After the race in Italy, things took a turn. To our utter amazement, Brit finished in an extremely lonely and miserable 13th place. This wasn't what we expected from him, did we? Even on winning the right championship within the sport, team boss Wolff apologized over the team radio, which was audible to all the fans out there who were following the broadcast. Wolff said, "I apologize for what you have wanted to ride today. I understand this is undrivable and not what we should get to achieve as an outcome. So we'll shift from there, but this was a horrible race." Hamilton, who was famous for being overtaken on the last lap of the ultimate race to miss the Drivers' Championship previous season to Max Verstappen, has attempted to collect a string of reasonable outcomes for the Berkeley-based squad. This was indeed a sad incident. What do you think? Hamilton began great with a third-place finish at the season opener in Bahrain, but nobody thought that he would have to battle for speed in Saudi Arabia with only a mark collected for his 10th-place finish. Meanwhile, in Australia, the 7-time champion was able to lead the way for the W13 to a 4th-place stop, with his partner, George Russell, overseeing a staging point. At least here, the scene was nicer. The race, carried on at the popular Emilia racetrack in Italy, was full of commotion, with McLaren's wrecking in the Carlos Sainz at the Tamburello chicane on the first lap, with the Ferrari man not being able to continue the track. Tragically, Alpine's Esteban Ocon was then announced to be negligent for a pit lane crash between both of them and earned a 5-second penalty. With still 10 laps to go, Ferrari and the recent crown leader, Charles Leclerc, lost control of the car for trailing Sergio Perez and knocking him from 3rd place down to 9th, but ultimately regained back to 6th place. And as expected by all of us, Verstappen would go on to finally gain a victory in the race, with the world champion standing in the race of his own. Red Bull also ensured 2nd place with Perez and Lando Norris completed on the dyes for the first time this year, while Valtteri Bottas rescued 3rd and was in the blend for pole until Leclerc's collision. Hamilton was never in an argument up front and declined to 7th. Hamilton clarified that he and Mercedes couldn't take up the ball after giving rise to alterations for allowing that did not result in dividends. Wolff rejected any interest in Hamilton's viewpoint in public and sympathized with the Britain's condition after a hard round. "We need the drivers to rehearse their minds, and there was a bunch of frustration," he said. "When you are completing entitlement in P7 in Monaco, you understand pretty much that is on the verge of the weekend. Letting out your frustrations is okay, and no one in the squad puts up with it the tough way because we convey it the other way around as well. He is the primary to admit and apologize when stuff goes wrong. He has performed it publicly and personally, but as a faction, that is one of the big A's that made us all winners in the former. We can carry it on the chin." There was one specific element of tire heating we talked about this morning, and on Thursday night, where we could have put up with a new way and a way he was eager to follow but didn't. That was precisely the subject of our discussion presently. Go into a research mode when we anticipate much cooler temperatures. Why has Mercedes' accomplishments been such an enormous feast, and why haven't we noticed it before? Over history, F1 has been prone to constructor regimes from McLaren's authority in the late 1980s, early 1990s, to Williams' eminence in the mid-1990s, or Ferrari's in the early 2000s. It's not fresh. Why? Commonly, the squad that has a benefit during a particular iteration of technology restrictions will carry that benefit forward for all the anticipable fate because it has a decent base on which to expand for the years to arrive. However, Mercedes has existed to be the anomaly to that rule. No team has ever held up their benefit over a difference in technical regulations. But Mercedes have, not once, but twice, and maybe even 3 times on the proof of this year so far. So their athletic benefit can't be technical, it's operative. Generally, after directing the path for so long, you would want to begin to detect fractions, complacency through the emotion of achievement, even lethargy. It is a squad of human beings after all, despite the normal priority put on the machinery. But their achievement has been unwavering and relentless. The confidentiality to this, according to Toto Wolff, is putting targets in such a way as to keep courage high. Yes, every year the objective is the exact success in both world championships. But every year relates new challenges and a new degree to verify. Wolff says they attain this through permanent skepticism. In other words, they often have a chip on their shoulder, still of what they've attained previously, the exact site for the circumstance that gives rise to technical achievement in the car furnished related achievement in establishing goals. As Wolff puts it, it was the tiny nuance. In 2015, it was nearly doing it. Furthermore, in 2017, it was roughly the initial to do it over a requirement modification. In 2019, it was about winning against the all-time Ferrari record of 6 consecutive constructors' titles. And today, it appears to be variety and inclusion. You need to wake up early in the morning with an understanding of the goal and apparent motives, and that maintains your going. Wolff's greatest assistance to the accomplishments of the Mercedes F1 team is putting obvious moralities which regulate squad culture. Now, the words value and culture are frequently used around sport committees and job organizations, but extremely few put them on to work successfully. As Wolff remarks, if it was simple, then it wouldn't be a differentiator. On the podcast hosted by Jake Humphrey and Damian Hughes, Wolff says the tale of how on his first day in power, he provided a team-wide demonstration of the squad's coming intentions. After the demonstration ended and the staff commenced selecting out, a machinist appeared on the dais and simply announced, "Nice slides." The team had got on through various holders and several modifications in administration, leadership, and championship performance. Confidence was low, and it wasn't something they hadn't listened to previously. What was taken off to be unique this time? As all big opponents do, Wolff set about illustrating those skeptics wrong, and that began with the formation of faith. He preferred a squad of frankness, no blame society, and no inner politics. It was to be an atmosphere where people were persuaded to speak up following Surrey Evans' see it, say it, fix it. Formula One is the ultimate apex, not only for motorists, but for mechanics and everybody. Quality drips through the corporation. You don't get into Formula One unless you are extremely talented. So to distinguish yourself from your rivalry, it's not about standing more gifted, it's the maximum of the ability of that skill. This is what Wolff recognizes as his goal within the firm. It's not for him to tell Mechanic A how to perform their chore. They survived to be the industry-leading specialists. Contrarily, they wouldn't have been employed. But he must list an atmosphere where Mechanic A can perform the job to the best of their capability. And he thinks honesty and directness are the cores of that. The ticket to increase in effort is mainly to withdraw control. Everyone governs in a rarely different way and needs a different climate in which to take out their capacity. As Wolff puts it, together, most crucial is to admit that we are all distinct people, and we require varied frameworks to execute well. Possibly the nicest example of this is Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton has frequently been criticized for his increased training and jet-set lifestyle. For somebody in Wolff's place, it would be simple to believe this is going to be the disadvantage of Hamilton's execution on the racecourse. Nonetheless, quite timely, he understood that this is precisely what he required to carry his senses off from racing on his weekends so that he could bestow 110% when the lights got damaged on Sunday. Withdraw control, and, not to be honest, it's quite difficult to complain about the outcome. Hamilton has since taken off break pretty much every title there is in athletics. Many times, the extensively creative people, the ones that are expected to excel others and execute on different attitudes, are the people that reside in a different life, and you barely need to be prepared to adopt that. Last year made my head go around the world because I was unable to choose whether to go back in my finance-loaded life and manage hedge funds or resume with my investment firm or stay in motor racing. Choosing was difficult. Well, the answer was quite inevitable as, in the end, motor racing, as expected, won. We positively understand the answer to accomplishments in both of these areas is honesty and the truth. For senior management, it should be completely about bringing the maximum out of their subject matter specialists and giving an atmosphere in which they can achieve that. And for them, it should be about giving birth to the confidence to tell senior administrations about how their atmosphere can be enhanced. Pure, brutal honesty. So that was all for today's episode. See you in the next video. Goodbye.